Hi, today we're in Atotonilco, and this is where the revolution against Spain started. Just to help you with the name, Atotonilco means hot water. It's Toto, like Dorothy's dog, Nilco. During the revolution, it was really important for the insurgents to have a priest on their side. This is the priest they had, Father Hidalgo. He was a very different thinker. He actually taught the indigenous how to make that multicolored pottery you still see for sale in San Miguel and here, how to make wine, how to make that was the word I was looking for, which all that was illegal because the indigenous were here to serve the Spanish. He also had 7 kids to 3 different local Atomi women. But it was very important, again, to have a priest on your side so everyone knew independence was a war against Spain, not a war against the church. When the whole thing starts, Father Hidalgo runs into the church here, grabs the flag of Guadalupe that he's holding, and proclaims freedom from Spain. In that speech I'm sure you've heard parts of, about Viva la Revolution, Viva Mexico. So this site is visited by 5,000 Mexicans weekly. It's equivalent for those of us from the U.S. to go visit Philadelphia, for example, and go see the Liberty Pal or Independence Hall. Let's go on in. So here we are in the foyer of the church in Atotonilco. Behind me is a copy of the flag that Father Hidalgo grabbed that we just saw on the statue, claiming their freedom in Spain. Unfortunately, it's a copy. Because the revolution lasted over 10 years, a lot of the relics from it are now in museums in Madrid. Another interesting factor here is over there, St. Isidore. He was a farmer that used to get so lost in his prayers, he'd lose track of time. So God sent the angels down to do his farm work for him. That made him the patron saint of farmers. All throughout the community here, you're going to go through lots of neighborhoods, lots of chapels named for St. Isidore, where the Atomi still live and still farm. The first time I was here, about 15 years ago, you really couldn't see a lot of the murals because of all the years of candles and the candle smoke. When they got the UNESCO fund and were able to clean it up, it really made a huge difference. A couple things to look for. All the stories they tell are stories of the crucifixion. Because Father Philip Neri Alfaro, that built the church, really was a firm believer that it's pain and suffering that bring one closer to God. But there is some humor if you know what to look for. So for example, right above us here, you can see the image of when Jesus is being kissed by Peter and given away to the Roman gladiators. But if you look, all the Roman gladiators throughout all the murals are dressed instead like Spanish conquistadors. It was a way to make fun of the wealthy Spanish. And every bad person in each vignette is going to have that monster thing attached to them. It sort of looks like a combination of a dragon and a bat. That's to let people know that this is a bad person in that particular story. Let's come on in. Behind me is St. Christopher. And you may have heard the legend of him and how he carries Jesus across the creek like he's shown in the mural here. And Jesus gets heavier and heavier, and Christopher almost drowns. That's why when you're in a local procession and you're carrying religious art and it gets heavy, that's the weight of your sins you're reluctant to let go of. That's like, Good Friday, I was carrying Jesus. People asked afterwards how it went. And I made a joke about how the Last Supper must have been an all-you-can-eat buffet because Jesus got very heavy. And folks told me that that's the weight of your sins. Because even if you're carrying a small art, if it gets heavy while you're carrying it, those are the weight of your sins. The gentleman right up here is the Lord of the Column. Probably the most famous statue in the Atotonilco. It's when Jesus gets whipped during the crucifixion story. Back in the 1830s, he was brought out of the church and was believed to help end a plague. So now he gets the honor starting the Easter season. 2 weeks before Easter, the Lord of the Column here will leave Atotonilco at midnight, and the pilgrims will walk all night long to get into San Miguel. Meanwhile, in San Miguel, they'll come down the street of Independencia at daylight, and artists work all night, decorating the street with murals made from sawdust and flowers, so that when Jesus walks over the flowers, they release a smell. It's like an early multimedia experience before there was electricity. Next to him here, there's an image of Mary with 2 older people on each side. That's to remind the viewer that, like me, Mary was a middle-aged baby, so her parents are always seen as being older. And just like here, they're normally seen holding books. That's to promote the idea that Mary was well educated. She knew how to read. During the Middle Ages, you'll find lots of paintings featuring an older woman reading to kids. That's St. Anne promoting the idea Mary knew how to read. When they came out with the printing press, they morphed that image of the older woman reading to children into an older goose. So Mother Goose is Jesus' Nana. And right next door to it is a little chapel. This is for, come around this side, this is for Our Lady of the Rosary. She's an image of Mary that appeared on a sea battle in the 1200s outside of Greece, when Greece was fighting with the Moors. Because the Greek side won, it helped keep Europe largely Roman Catholic during the Middle Ages. So on the ceiling of it, you can see glimpses of the galleons fighting during this battle. And some of the ships have gotten really tired of being at war, so you'll see them throughout the church as they float off into other murals. Here on the altar, to the right here is the tomb of Philip Neri Alfaro, the priest that built the area. He was so into pain and suffering, he used to sleep in an open casket here on the altar, which made it really easy when he died. They just put the lid on, and that's where he's buried. Behind Jesus, you can see there's a little round chapel that has 12 images, 12 paintings of the 12 apostles. One when they're alive, and then one when they're dying. It really didn't pay to be one of Jesus' apostles, because all of them have horrible deaths, except for John, the gentleman behind me. You can tell him from all the other apostles, because he was the youngest, so he never has a beard, and he was Jesus' favorite. Often in art, like in Da Vinci's Last Supper, people confuse St. John in paintings with Mary Magdalene, because he looks so effeminate. So for some people, they consider John to have been the gay apostle. All we know for certain is he was Jesus' favorite, because that's who he left his mother to when he was up on the cross. Let's come into one of the side chapels. Are you okay? Okay. So this is one of the side chapels. Right above the altar, you can see a little casket filled with bones. Those are the bones of people that fought during the Christiana War of the 1920s. That's when the government went to war against the church. The church was the largest landholder in Mexico. If you fought on the church side, you're considered a martyr, even though the church lost. You'll meet people in town that will remember their grandfather may have fought in that war. And since the church side lost, he couldn't come back into town. So many times he would live in the tunnels that laced San Miguel, and they'll remember their grandmother taking food to him each day. On the altar, once again, the gladiator is dressed like a Spanish conquistador. To the left and the right, the good thief and the bad thief that die alongside Jesus. The bad thief is called Jespus. You can always tell him in art, he's not in the front altar here, he's over to the left, we can't see. But he's always ugly, because he makes fun of Jesus when they're on the cross. As opposed to Demas, the good thief, is shown as being younger and better looking than Jesus. He's the only person we know to be in heaven, because Jesus tells him while they're on the cross, I'll see you there this afternoon. This opened up a Pandora's box for the early church, because how did Demas get into heaven if he's never been baptized? So it created the notion of baptism by intent. If he could have, he would have. So for example, when my Jewish brother-in-law died, he was in the process of becoming Catholic. He got a Catholic funeral because of St. Demas. Baptism by intent, if he could have, he would have. So on the art there, you can always tell St. John in the green and red, without the beard, his mom, Mary, of course, in blue. The young lady sitting, looking the most distraught at Jesus' feet, is Mary Magdalene. Many people consider her to have been his girlfriend, because in art, she's always the most upset at the crucifixion. And when Jesus comes back from the dead on Easter Sunday, it's to see Mary Magdalene, not Mary, not one of the apostles. So obviously, she was very important to him. Let's go ahead and pause. So here we are in the little store run by the nuns that take care of the church. 4 cool things here. One is the eggnog. They make really good eggnog if you like that. The second are these cookies. All different types of cookies. Buenos días. These are called brunellas. They're mostly a Christmas time treat. You can get them throughout the year. They're fried dough. That's considered the world's oldest recipe, was how to fry dough for like donuts and funnel cakes, cookies. They have the little air pockets throughout them because you always want to let the wind god pass on through. Very sugary, very sweet. But the most important thing about the tienda is this young lady here, because she's just one of the nicest and friendliest women you'll ever meet. Pardon me, madre. We'll just solamente dice adios de Atotonilco.
Hello.
The reason for that is because normally when you see Mary in art, she's contemplative, serene. Sometimes she's maternal or sad. This is the only image I've ever seen where she's aggressive and assertive. She started out as a painting back in 1720 Sicily. A nun had this image of Mary and she told the painter what to paint. In many ways, it looks like art from the colonial era. What made the painting unique is the gentleman. Sometimes it's a woman, but in the original it's a man. She's lifting up from the jaws of a giant sea monster. That sea monster is Leviathan. He appears in the Old Testament 6 or 7 times. It was believed if you were consumed by Leviathan, you were coughed up into the sea of chaos. So it's Mary saving a man from a chaotic future. 20 years after it was painted, it got brought to the city of Lyon, about an hour and a half from us here in Atotonilco. It's part of a big cathedral called Maria de la Luz, or Mary of the Light. If you ever meet a woman named Malu, M-A-L-U, that's the abbreviation for Maria de la Luz and her mom, named her after this painting. The Jesuits spread the painting all over Mexico. It was wildly popular, and widely. And you'll find a Mary of the Light in every church, generally speaking, except it comes in 3 versions. It's a copy of the original painting. You'll see the big ugly sea monster trying to eat the man or woman. But over time, the Pope didn't like Mary next to a sea monster. So he tells people, look, if we're going to reproduce this image, black out the sea monster. Then she's lifting him or her up from the darkness of purgatory. There's an image like this in the Parochia. Or you can put him or her into the fires of hell that she's lifting them up out of. There's a sculpture like this in the Church of Good Health on Plaza Civica. So you'll see all 3 of these images all over town. Whenever we have a procession in town, a lot of times you'll see on a long stick, there's a papier-mâché papier-mâché star on the top, and you'll spin it, and it's just part of the procession. Those are in honor of Mary of the Light, because all the electricians that came into town, let me wait for the train to go by. There's a papier-mâché or crepe paper star on the top spinning. Those are in honor of the Mary of the Light, because all the men that worked at the factory were considered electricians. And their descendants now carry those stars in processions in honor of Mary of the Light. So Guadalupe is the most prominent image of Mary as the mother of Mexico. You're going to see all over San Miguel, all over the country, all over the southwest parts of the United States. The second most popular image of Mary is this one. And she's called the Virgin of St. John of the Lakes. St. John of the Lakes is a town about 3 hours outside of San Miguel. Where back in the 1600s, a circus blew into town. And 2 little girls, sisters, they did the trapeze. While they were up doing the trapeze, their parents lined the ground with swords and knives and sharp objects to make the act more visually exciting and to make sure they got the Bad Parent Award. Because of course, one of the little girls tumbles, falls on a sharp object. A woman in the circus audience runs to the local church, grabs this Barbie-sized image of Mary in an indigenous dress, lays it on the little girl, and she survives. That's the first miracle associated with the statue. The statue, or this image, is celebrated on February 2nd. On January 24th, 20% of our town's population will leave San Miguel and join millions of other pilgrims to walk for 9 days to go visit the Virgin of St. John of the Lakes. Friends that do it every year, they tell me when they camp out at night, often they'll see a torch light up in a nearby mountain. The torch light will come down the mountain, cross the field, but never quite reach the campsite. They believe those are spirits for people that have gone on past pilgrimages, died on the pilgrimage, and are now coming back to finish their walk to go visit the Virgin of St. John of the Lakes. You can always tell her from the other Marys, because she has this very triangular